In October of last year, I had the greatest opportunity to go on a historical field trip with my school. We visited all 13 original colonies in just 10 days. During this epic adventure, we saw Valley Forge, Gettysburg, and Harper's Ferry. But it was in Philadelphia, though, where I stood at the birthplace of the United States of America, gazing at the most historic room in our country. Did I feel something incredible? You see, I participated in this contest last year. I've studied the Constitution in school and had the names of Washington, Madison, and Franklin drilled into my head. Yet something happened as I stood in Independence Hall on that cool October day. There came a moment when I stood alone in the hall, with my eyes closed. And I could almost hear the raised voices of William Patterson and Edmund Randolph arguing about representation. I could practically feel the sweltering heat of that summer in 1787. As the debate played out before my mind's eye, I could see Roger Sherman begin to list off options and compromise with those who were in disagreement, and the room quieted due to the voice of reason. For a moment, I was surrounded by giants among men discussing the very creation of a country. For me and for you. Before I left the building, I couldn't stop myself from staring at the place where the Declaration of Independence had been adopted and where the Constitution had been debated, drafted, and signed. Independence Hall stands as a testimony to our founding fathers' vision. And since then, according to PBS.org, 1.1 million men and women have died in service to that vision. 12,180 men and women have pledged to uphold that vision in Congress, and 45 men have served as president to enforce its articles. Whether it be one of the 55 framers of the Constitution or just a citizen like me, that vision requires courage to uphold the freedom it provides. It requires men and women to refuse to live in fear. I agree with Harry S. Truman when he said, quote, "America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, imagination, and an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand," end quote. By examining the Constitution through a passionate, heart-focused viewpoint, I want to show you the essence of strength I felt on that day in Independence Hall. Today, ladies and gentlemen, like our forefathers, we can use courage, imagination, and determination to continue shaping our land. Our Constitution was ratified in 1788 and accomplishes so much in just 7 articles. Articles 1, 2, and 3 establish the branches of government, known as the legislative, judicial, and executive branches. Each of these were created to check and balance each other, to evenly spread the power so that the American experiment didn't fall to become another England. The 4th article deals with states' rights. This article ensures that we, the people, will receive equal treatment in each state. And because our founders knew that change is inevitable, our Constitution can be tested and amended thanks to Article 5, which deals with the amendment process. And finally, Articles 6 and 7 explore issues such as national debt, supreme laws, oaths, and the ratification of our Constitution. In just a 4-page document, our founding fathers proved it to be possible to create a stable government through reason rather than violence. When Benjamin Franklin and James Madison met in that dusty hall in Philadelphia, it wasn't to write the Constitution. They were sent by the government with specific instructions to amend the Articles of Confederation. What they did instead could have been called treason, yet each of the 55 delegates had enough courage to create something entirely new for their struggling nation. Citizens of America need to have courage to help ensure that our constitutional rights and privileges are not eliminated by our government. The way I see courage is not being afraid of challenging the government's actions or unjust laws, but being afraid of what might happen if you do not valiantly step up for your liberty. Why do we need courage? Why is this value so fundamentally important? George Washington answered this question. He said, quote, "Government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is force. Like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Never for a moment should it be left to irresponsible action." One example of courage in the face of governmental and societal pressure is Sojourner Truth. Truth was born into slavery around 1797, and after being sold away from her family, assaulted and beaten, she finally escaped to freedom in 1826. Shortly after her escape, however, Truth learned that her son had been illegally sold to a man in Alabama. Sojourner Truth, a former slave in the 1800s, had enough courage to question injustice and took the issue to court, thus making her case one of the first in which a black woman successfully challenged a white man in the United States court. Because of her courageous actions, Sojourner Truth inspired others to help ensure that all men and women are created equal. Backtracking to 1787, James Madison made his way to Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention, bringing with him a huge trunk full of books on governmental philosophy. Madison knew in his heart that the Articles of Confederation were beyond repair. Therefore, Madison prepared for the fight of his life, because nothing less than the freedom of his country depended on his courage, imagination, and determination. 200 plus years later, we the people are still dependent on that very imagination to help ensure that our Constitution remains relevant in modern times. The framers foresaw that America would change over the years, yet they knew with the modernization of society, people would need laws to be reinterpreted to meet modern needs. In response, James Madison used his ingenious skills and his determined imagination to pen a living, breathing document that is as relevant today as it was 225 years ago. I stood in Independence Hall, in the most historic room of all America, smiling. With my imagination running wild, I could hear George Washington beckoning his fellow delegates to come forward and sign the completed version of the Constitution. The United States of America was to become a more perfect union that established justice, ensured domestic tranquility, provided for the common defense, promoted general welfare, and secured the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Fight for your rights. Know and defend the Constitution. We live in a dangerous era where our growing government is pushing limits and boundaries, and that is why it is our duty to stand courageously like Sojourner Truth